5 days had passed since the quiet house in the hills became something else entirely. What had once been a place of routine, memory, and long conversations now stood at the center of an unfolding tragedy that refused to settle into simple explanations. From the outside, nothing looked disturbed. No shattered windows, no broken locks, no signs that anything had been forced or rushed. Yet inside, something had gone profoundly wrong. Investigators working the case would later describe the scene as heavy, not just in physical detail, but in emotional weight. It was the kind of environment that suggested familiarity rather than intrusion. Whoever moved through the house that night did so with ease, not hesitation. And that detail would shape everything that followed. According to the reconstructed timeline, the tension did not begin inside the home. It started earlier that evening at a private holiday gathering hosted by a well-known television personality. The event was intimate, invitation-only, and deliberately free of media attention. A safe space, at least on the surface. Among the guests were an acclaimed filmmaker in his late 70s, his wife, and their adult son. Witnesses later recalled that the son stood apart from the group. While others mingled easily, he remained withdrawn, watching conversations rather than joining them. His presence felt heavy, not disruptive, just unsettling. At first, it was written off as social discomfort. Later, it would feel like something else. Several guests noticed moments that didn't quite fit. The son approached people he didn't know, asking direct questions without context. Names, occupations. Long pauses followed by silence. More than one guest described the encounters as intense, even invasive. At one point, he interrupted a private conversation, standing too close, saying nothing for several seconds before abruptly walking away. Laughter faded. Conversations slowed. The atmosphere shifted. The filmmaker noticed. So did his wife. Witnesses recalled a tense exchange in a quiet hallway. Voices were lowered, but frustration was visible. The mother attempted calm. The father attempted control. Neither seemed to land. Shortly after, the couple decided to leave. The son stayed behind. No one imagined that would be the last time most of those guests would ever see them alive. Later that night, the son vanished from contact. Phone calls went unanswered, messages unread. Investigators would later determine that he checked into a hotel several miles away using his own credit card. He did not unpack. He did not sleep. Hotel staff described him as restless, polite, directionless. Sometime after midnight, he left. What happened next unfolded in silence. Back at the house, the neighborhood slept. Security cameras showed no unfamiliar figures, no vehicles lingering, no signs of outside interference. The house knew him. He knew the house. Investigators believe he entered through a common access point, one he had used countless times before. Inside, the lights remained off. No alarms were triggered. The layout offered no surprises. What followed was not quick. Forensic findings suggested repeated movements, sustained effort, close proximity, the kind of confrontation that requires physical presence, not distance. Experts would later explain that events like this rarely resemble moments shown in films. There is no single motion, no instant collapse. There is time. There is repetition. There is intention shaped by emotion. By the early morning hours, the house fell quiet again. Around 4 a.m., the son appeared at another hotel, this one closer to the city. He checked in briefly, then left before settling. Staff noticed nothing unusual beyond a vague sense of agitation. Later that day, a scheduled visitor arrived at the home. There was no response. Calls were made. Then more calls. Concern escalated quickly. Family members entered the house. Emergency services followed. The discovery was immediate and devastating. Authorities were careful with language. Early statements minimized detail, describing the situation as an apparent medical emergency. That framing did not last. As investigators processed the scene, the scale became impossible to ignore. The couple had not died peacefully. Medical examiners established a window of death several hours before discovery. Evidence suggested the encounter had unfolded over time rather than in a single moment. By then, the son was missing. Surveillance footage later placed him at a gas station mid-afternoon. He appeared tense but functional, completing a routine transaction without drawing attention. Shortly after, he was located by authorities and taken into custody without resistance. The story might have paused there, but it didn't. Public attention surged not only because of who the victims were, but because of what came next. Reports emerged that the accused individual's legal defense might be funded through family assets. The revelation ignited debate. Was it compassion? Was it obligation? Was it law? Legal analysts pointed out that, under certain statutes, estate funds can be used for defense prior to a verdict. Others argued that such decisions carry ethical and emotional consequences no legal framework can resolve. The defense attorney chosen was known nationally, a strategist accustomed to high-profile, high-stakes cases. When asked who was paying, he declined to comment. Silence filled the gap. The first court appearance was brief. Cameras were restricted. The accused said almost nothing. A delay was granted. Outside the courtroom, the public tried to reconcile two images: a celebrated creative figure known for warmth and humor, and a case defined by violence inside a family home. Attention returned to the past. Friends described years of struggle, early substance issues, periods of instability, attempts at recovery, support that never fully disappeared even when boundaries were drawn. The parents had tried everything: treatment programs, housing, structure, patience. At times, progress seemed possible. At others, hope slipped just out of reach. Those closest to the family said the final months were marked by concern. Sleep patterns disrupted, absences unexplained, conversations tense. Still, no one predicted this. Public tributes poured in from artists, actors, politicians, and collaborators. Words like kind, brilliant, generous, and devastating loss filled social media feeds. Some tributes focused on legacy, others on character. A few carried quiet disbelief. As the investigation continues, questions remain suspended in the air. How does a lifetime of care end here? At what point does love lose its ability to protect? And how does a home built for healing become a place of irreversible harm? The legal process will move forward. Evidence will be presented. Arguments will be made. But some questions will never find resolution in a courtroom. They will live instead in the silence left behind, inside a house that will never feel like home again.